recording and start streaming, and let's see when it connects.
I got you up here, so I'll tell you when it starts. Agreed.
Nice.
All right, something's connected, but it's not getting an image yet. Oh, there we go.
No.
All right, we are live. All right, guys,
I am
welcome.
refreshing.
We are live on my end, so welcome all of you, and thanks for coming to the pilot episode for the Sultans of Shadilay podcast. I am Bezek, and I will be the moderator. I'm from Australia, having fun at this hour in the morning. I am joined by Jezza.
Hello, how are you all doing? I'm also from Australia, and it is also very, very early in the morning / late at night for me.
We are also joined by our friend Second Plague.
Yeah, I am a proud Merkin. I'm also a Christian and a Lockean-style classical liberal. And the name Second Plague is a reference to the Second Plague of Egypt, owing to, my kind of Christian tradition, as well as the frog in my profile picture and, just Pepe in general. So that's the inspiration behind my name.
Christian pills incoming.
Yes.
And we are joined by Shushan Johnny.
Hello. Well, I guess I'm Shushan Johnny, the autist currently known as Shushan Johnny. I am the token Slav of this weird group. I'm from Slovakia. And I am also the guy that will sometimes derail the conversation because I just can't stop bitching about late night comedy and these comedians and how they ruin the world. Also formerly a progressive, a convert.
Excellent. We finally cured you of your madness. And Spoon, how are you today?
Greetings, and I will be the voice of reason. Well, try to anyway.
The voice of many wet dreams as well, apparently.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
And last but
I can
certainly
confirm if you wish to pay me for it.
Last but certainly not least, Trim, our resident, artist, shall we say.
Yes, well, kind of. I'm the one who's created the abominations you see before you, and are now talking on the screen as well. My name is Trim. I am the resident Norwegian, proud member of the greatest country in the world, of course, with the best resources, the best people, the best ratios of anything. We don't have to talk about certain policies. No. And, I'm here to just make random noises, make a few comments here and there, and most likely start laughing insanely when other people start speaking.
Excellent. So, jumping right into it, we are starting off with our Lotus Eaters after show. So, French civil insurrection. Civil war in France, pro?
Approved. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well,
I prefer it to happen.
I'm kind of iffy on that because if only for the fact that I feel like if France was to have a civil war, we all know what side the global cathedral would intervene in favor of.
Unfortunately,
it's also
that
an
is
excuse
true.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the thing.
for the EU.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean, it's also if civil war were to ever break out again in the U.S., I'm pretty sure I could take a wild stab at which side of the political aisle the European states would support in that conflict.
They might support it, but they're probably not going to actively get involved. But if there is conflict which breaks out in Europe, the thing I'd be worried about is the EU empire actually starting to form, because we all know the Germans are just waiting for it.
I mean,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That.
So if that happened in America, America would be somewhat insulated by its superior military force, but with a country like France, which, let's just say isn't as strong, I feel like Germany would Exactly, they would hop all over that.
Yeah, and Germany can try and come up to Norway, but we got enough moolah to buy them out.
Yeah, they would declare a first German empire for a safe and secure society.
This is how liberty
Gee,
dies.
that
Through
kind of
rambling
sounds
insanity.
familiar. I think there was some Austrian dude who said something like that once upon a time.
Yeah, kind of a
Yeah.
shitty painter, though.
Well, to be fair, he only missed with an angle on a window, and I do like his mustache, but I hear he ripped that off from an actor.
Ruined the whole thing too.
Yeah.
You do realize
too
in
bad.
a couple of years' time, people are not going to realize who's Hitler and who's Charlie Chaplin.
Don't remind me. It's
Well,
Well, at least the Americans will, because their education system is a pile of wank.
Also, the
No
situation
offense.
in France is just, it's interesting because if you just took France as isolated and not a part of the European Union, I think the generals and the army just would win the coup, just like that. But the problem
Yeah,
is
agreed.
if they do a coup, they have the whole freaking union on their backs. And it's gonna spark some bigger stuff. If they were
What,
just
like
as
them leaving
isolated
the
and nobody
union?
would. Yeah. Well,
But
there would be sanctions. They would just leave the union and
They will probably
It
go it
guards
alone.
on the borders. Yeah.
It kind of depends, to be honest, because they are the military with all the generals, and if they start being doing too many sanctions, France actually gives a lot to the union itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
I
it was the
think
same
that
with
if the
Britain.
generals do it properly and get the population on their side, they can actually get some of the not EU members, the members who want to get out, will get on their side.
Absolutely. The based countries would get on their side, of course.
absolutely. I
So
think
we're talking
England will
about
be
another
like a-
situation of the Allies and Axis.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
quite possibly.
EU's axis, right?
Well,
Yeah,
Germany's
would be
axis.
Germany would be in massive favor of it dissolving, because if France were to stage a successful coup and leave, which would likely be what they would push for because they don't like the immigration in the European Union, all of the debt would go to Germany. And Germany would not be in favor of that. So they would say, to hell with this,
It
it's a
could be
failed
the end of
experiment.
the union.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yes,
Yes.
that would be so beautiful. I mean,
Oh,
Germany
yeah.
barely managed to hold up as it is. It is
French military is going
wonderful.
to end the EU. Let that sink in.
That would
That's
be glorious.
really funny, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very funny.
And as was brought
Very
up, if they decide to leave the EU, they'll get a lot of support, hopefully quite a lot from England.
I would hope so.
Yes.
Oh man,
Maybe.
the prophecies are coming true. It's the second
Yeah.
plague of evil. The frogs will rise up.
May the 31st English-French war will the last. Forever
That's
freedom. Forever
just like-
friendship between England and France. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm just
Way to
picturing
hold up
England.
the EU.
Well, no, I'm picturing England and France like standing side by side against the European Union, and it's like the end of Return of the King. I never thought I'd die fighting side by side with a Frenchman. What about side by side with a friend? I could do that.
Look,
Yes, indeed.
the
Indeed.
V4 countries
Well-
will be on your side, so it wouldn't be so weird.
I mean, the
It's not gonna be just the two of you.
Rohan people. I mean, everyone joined in that final stand against Mama Merkel. I mean, Sauron.
Yes, exactly.
The thing of it
Also,
is,
we
it
could
will.
see a re-establishment of the true kingdom of England, which includes
That'd be
France.
nice.
It is kind of
Or
funny
we
because
could,
it will be a repeat of the Second World War, because it will be the French and
Yeah.
the English against the Germans,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
which is
Or we
rather
could
funny.
find the cyborg general in command of the European army, set him on fire from within, and then send in the shutdown code to shut down all of the EU Union. And then re-establish England as the first European empire! With Boris Johnson in his black cloak.
But think about this now for a second. Let's just say, okay, long shot now, that the French I won't say successfully stage a coup, but at least gets enough public opinion further to push for a Frexit-style leave, and it's successful. There is no reason any of the rest of the union wouldn't side with the French and the English against the Germans. At least not as far as I can tell.
I'm sure Poland would side with France just as revenge.
I wonder why. It's not like Poland has a kind of shady history with the Germans.
Yeah, weird that. I mean, I've heard some rumors that something happened down in the 40s, but it's just speculation anyway.
Oh, I'm sure it was just some minor political spat.
Yeah, a little bit of discussions between this rather short black-haired fellow with a funny mustache and being like, we need a little more place to live. How about we just go that way? Is that okay? Thank you.
What, are you Hitler or V?
Snap! Ouch! Thank you. I felt the smiting of Jesus upon my soul. Oh.
I do kind of wonder how that is all going to end. And when is the
Wait,
French
Jesus
election
smiting my
happening?
soul or the France leaving EU causing it to inevitable collapse?
Next year, I think. It's next year.
Yes, next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Because right
Based
now
on
it
the
is.
facts on Michel Houellebecq's book.
Yeah, because I know there's three now. There's Le Pen, there's Macron, and Barnier is like trying to look like the sane middle ground between the two.
Yeah.
And I said for a long time, the problem with leaving all of these problems is that the middle ground is not going to do, because the middle ground is not going to be enough.
Yes.
The middle ground solution would have been way earlier, which you could have done like a soft reset. And now everyone looks at the middle ground and go, you're too much of a bitch to do anything about it. Go with the further right opinion. And the further right opinion is probably going to be more effective. And that is what generally worries me. But then the generals say, screw you, we want to take over. I'm like, base generals. Go with the generals.
Yeah, it's also interesting because, well, we can actually probably effectively talk about left and right politics when we talk about France, but generally speaking, in lots of the other countries in the world, left and right is a very accurate descriptor for the political differences between the two wings of politics.
You may as well
Well,
just speak nationalist and globalist at this point, especially for Europe.
Yeah, I agree.
Basically.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
nationalism is on the rise
right.
all over Europe.
Left
If
and
the
right is more
military
fitting to.
does a successful coup, they're definitely going to install Le Pen as the president. So.
Absolutely.
I'm okay with that.
It's unsurprising that nationalism is on the rise after several decades where just about every government that I can name has been bending over backwards to the advantage of everyone but their own citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a trend basically where after a long period of left-leaning and socialist politics, suddenly we get a turn and go hard right.
Well, it's also this thing where the idea of nationalism has become poison because, well, Hitler was a nationalist and he committed genocide. And it's like, okay.
People tend to forget the socialist behind that nationalist.
Well, yeah, but it is also like they act like it's somehow this like absurd kind of argument to make. The people who call themselves liberals act like it's a like impossible argument to make, but within liberalism is the idea of the social contract, because a country's citizens are the people engaged in a contract with their own government. And so obviously their government has a much greater obligation towards them and their own interests as a matter of loyalty.
Well, remember, from the Lockean perspective, and what should be the rational perspective, is not that the people answer to the government, as most governments seem to have forgotten. It's that the government's power derives directly from its citizens, and if the government must answer to the citizens, not the other way around.
Right.
Well, not America anymore, because remember, we the people are the government.
Yeah, of course.
God.
Yeah, Biden, speaking of actually all the Star Wars references, Biden actually looks like Palpatine.
Yeah, it does, doesn't he? It's disturbing.
He just only bonus is he doesn't sound like Palpatine, at least.
Now, I'd say
That's a shame.
Palpatine has like a one-up on him. He has those like yellow Sith eyes, but his eyes are actually, you can see them. Biden's eyes are all like creepy and like beady and shit. And if you've seen that, like that one, I don't know, comic artist person who draws those like panels of Joe Biden like sucking the blackness out of a black girl who won't vote for him. Like
Nah.
you look at
Yeah,
that, you look at his
Alexopoulos.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at his eyes in that picture, and then you see him in any interview and debate, and they're just so beady and black and dead inside.
No.
It is actually creepy.
Biden
he is
is
the Lich
Biden
King.
is Biden is Vader after he got shocked by the lightning. Kamala is Palpatine.
There we go.
Yeah.
She is
Yeah,
the
that's funny.
psychotic, power hungry. That woman is I actually think is a psychopath. I legitimately think that she is power hungry lunatic. And everyone
Honestly,
knew she was going to be chosen. Like when they decided who we're going to have for a VP, everyone went, it's going to be Kamala. Everyone knew it before it even happened. She was supposed to be the chosen one until Tulsi Gabbard beat the crap out of her with one shot.
Exactly.
yeah, honestly, I think Kamala Harris being VP is the reason why Joe Biden is going to make it at least through the midterm. Because, Joe Biden is an effective mask for the Democrats. They can do all this like radical shit, and then Joe Biden can, and then Joe Biden can just go, "Oh, this is about red states or blue states. It's about you, your family, the people of the United States of America. We gotta come together. We have to do this." And the normie will look at him and go, "Oh my, what a unifying moderate." But like, if he were to vanish from the picture and Kamala were to take over, she doesn't have that same masking effect, and she is a charisma black hole. And so,
Yeah, I mean-
if she was the face of the party, then I think more people would take serious issue with the party's actual actions. So I think they're definitely going to keep Joe Biden at the front of things, at least through the midterm elections.
Well, isn't it
I mean,
after
just
the
look at the
midterm
guy.
elections where Kamala gets to finish out Biden's term and then run for her own and possibly get 2 more? Though, God help America if they vote her in 2 more times.
There is no way in hell she would even get the
Fortifying
primary win.
her
She couldn't.
in office.
She couldn't get the primary on her own account. And if the Biden presidency is anything to go by, there is no reason in hell people would vote for her in the primary. And regardless, Trump will kick the crap out of whoever the Democratic nominee is after the like. Look how badly it is in the first 5 months. If it is going to be another 3.5 years of this crap, I don't even think the country would survive
Yeah.
it, let alone an next election.
Absolutely. Do you think that who is it? DeSantis, based Florida man, will run and get Trump's
Endorsement?
endorsement's the word I'm looking for.
If he were to run, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
he were to
yeah.
run, Trump would definitely endorse him. But,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to run. But DeSantis does prove, like, kind of at least one white pill point within the Biden administration is that we're starting to see the red state governments within the U.S. actually asserting their, I guess,
Their
state
balls.
authority. Yeah, exactly. So they're looking at what the
Time.
federal government is doing, and they're like, oh, biological males in women's sports, drug
It's
the
a terrible
children,
idea, yeah.
like just completely remove the standards and integrity of the voting system. Crack down on guns, more abortion and shit. And the red state governors are like, no, okay, we can actually do something on a state level to resist this. And I actually think that's pretty effective because maybe within a federal level they are the outer party, but on a state level, in their own states, they are the inner parties. They can be more effective at actually managing things there. And so that's what I like to see. I like to see the political right wing in my country actually be moralized, actually be confident in their willingness to assert their own positions.
Oh, yeah, because they've got a
Can I
moral
just
incentive to do
dovetail
so.
off?
Yeah,
Go
the
on.
Can I just dovetail off of that? I just got a quick question for you guys. How much have you been noticing moral and ethical language coming out of your local politicians recently? Because I've been looking for it and listening for it, trying to hear my local politicians and our federal politicians here in Australia start using the moral words, start talking about things, heavier way than that, or a thicker way, as Carl's decided to introduce us to in the policy decisions and the things that they're talking about. And I haven't really noticed it, unlike what I've heard from the MAGA section of the Republican Party in America. They've been talking in very moral terms and using very thick concepts in their discussions and their what they're putting out to the public lately, which I think is a wonderful thing, but I'm not hearing it here. And I'm wondering if you guys over in Europe are hearing that from any of your local politicians.
Well, I certainly haven't been hearing it in my neck of the woods in Australia, though my local politicians are experts at the art of speaking for hours and saying absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Impressive.
What about you guys? Have been anyone else been hearing the thick concepts from anyone?
I live in an EU country. They can barely say a coherent sentence without me wanting to throw my shoe at the screen. It all just sounds very empty, especially when it comes to the coronavirus. That just sounds. They sound like clones because they all say a new thing, but it doesn't seem genuine. It seems too manufactured.
Yeah, it seems too rhetoric.
Yes, it seems too. Well, for lack of a better word, politicky.
Yeah, absolutely. Grab onto what I think was Second Blake was saying about the right wing in his country. The right wing in our country for Jez and I is basically one party, which is goes by one nation. Unfortunately, being the only party to the right at all, they attract They attract a large amount of the legitimate white nationalists and the other assorted crazies, which doesn't help them get anywhere.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. I'll agree with that.
Well, I would also say that the political right wing in your country also includes Sky News Australia, which is surprisingly based.
We all should have Sky News.
That's where we sort of go. They're not right wing; they're conservative. Like, I know that they sound right wing, but the people who are on it are all conservatives. They're not right wing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, conservative and right wing isn't automatically the same, though they share a lot of.
Unfortunately, the biggest issue is it seems that these days the truth sounds right wing.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. That's what it is.
We do have a little bit in Norway with the guys with a thick concept, but you'll find that to our central parties and central right parties, and we actually don't have any real right parties because centrism is Norway's king.
Yeah, our right party is very right, but unfortunately the side effect of that, like I said, is attracting the legitimate nutters. And they've got a few policies I very strongly disagree with, but I have to keep looking towards them because they're the only one that aren't actively working against me.
Yeah, we're in the situation where we've got the Labour Party here as well, which is the far left party, along with the Greens, who are essentially the same thing. Then we have the centre-left party, which is the Liberals. And then we have, as a right-wing party, we have One Nation, and it's the Conservative parties, like they're all Christian-based, essentially, here in Australia, the Conservative parties. Our Big L Liberal Party claim to be conservatives, yet all of their policies sit centre-left. It's very, very frustrating.
Well, to be honest, though, in Norway, the right and left thing is more pushed over to be, shall we say, in the side of collectivism and what's the other one?
Individualism.
Yes, individualism. What you can say is that the centralist party, Centerpartiet, they are the ones who essentially are the champions of more spread out, more police stations to the smaller places, to smaller counties, smaller cities and villages, unlike Høyre, which is our currently in in control part of the government, they are all a bunch of centralists, at least from what I can see. Anna Solberg, she is our prime minister. She is a big devotee to that. Thanks to her, she's pretty much closed down a lot of the satellite police stations, ambulance areas, a lot of that, while the Central Party is opening to divide divide the counties back to the smaller counties, as well as increasing the amount of police stations.
I mean,
So
more
they're
police
looking- they're
in
in
general
providing
is
service.
good.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
That's something that I
Especially Norwegian
find.
police.
That is something I find amazing in an American context, is that you have all these white leftists who are like, abolish the police, defund the police, and then like 70% of black people in the United States are like, no, there should be the same amount of or more policing.
Yeah.
Well, that's because, as a general rule, I would say that for whatever reason, the black community tends to live in black communities, for lack of a better word to describe it, and unfortunately, gang culture is very attractive to young men who've never met a real man and have no father in their lives. And when you're surrounded by gang culture, I would be willing to bet you'd want more police.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Well, we all know what the culture that created the situation in the US, and that's the Democrats with redlining, Jim Crow, all of the other, like
Another little fun fact people seem to forget is that white supremacy is not something that is, again, tied to, just like conservatism and liberalism, is not tied to the right or left. White
That's correct.
supremacy, as people say, it can be added to everything. And well, we all know about the fucking Dems now, do we?
yeah, don't we just get back on your plantations?
Well,
If
and
you
these
hear-
white leftists are the real white supremacists. That's just
White
Exactly.
supremacists with
Yes.
guilty consciences, that like's been
Yes.
said for years.
Absolutely.
That
Yes.
was my favorite part of Sargon's debate with Thomas Smith at MythCon, where he was like,
Yes.
"You are a white supremacist with a guilty conscience."
Beautiful.
I've got to watch that highlights video again someday.
I love it. Just love
If
it.
you hear the phrase white supremacy, substitute the phrase with competence and tell me if it doesn't still work.
Well,
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
us saying that. That was the Smithsonian who said that competence was a form
Yes.
of white supremacy.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, is that if ever you hear the phrase, what are we fighting against? You hear it from the left, never from the right. And the reason is because all of the entire democratic platform is as a group of problem solvers. Think of it that way. And white supremacy, all of their solutions to white supremacy involve state intervention. Think about it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Bezic, you want to pull up the Smithsonian infographic on the stream?
That
You have to
sounds
find it on
like
Google
a
Images, 'cause
fantastic
it's-
idea.
Pull it up on Google Images or Bing, because I know for a fact it's not on the website anymore, because a bunch of minorities complained that it was offensive to minorities to suggest that they can't show up on time. Which is pretty
About
funny,
time.
actually.
About
Funny how
time
that
we
works.
remove
And
the image
accurate.
of Liege Lord Biden, because he's starting to freak me out.
Well,
They
more than
should
he
go
already is,
Biden.
isn't he?
Again, like how his eyes look in that picture is unironically how I see his eyes now. I can't unsee that.
What
Yeah,
about that old
I
picture
agree
of the
with you on that
rally
one.
where he looks like a zombie?
Yeah. Oh,
There was an old picture of him when he was still doing the primaries, and it's the shot of underneath him, like it's looking upward towards him, and he's looking at the sky. And you know that bit in Modern Warfare, in the first one, where the nuclear blast kicks in?
yeah.
It looks like his face is in the middle of that. Like, I'm not even joking. I remember Styx did a video on it because of just the picture alone, because it looked so shocking. It just went, this guy, just look at him and tell me this guy is ready to run a country. He looks like a zombie. He looks like what Bill Clinton looks like now, just soul sucked. Nothing left. He's a husk.
He makes the late Prince of England look alive.
Yeah. All right, here we
He
go.
is just part of
Aspects
whiteness,
and
I-
assumptions of whiteness and white culture in the United States. Rugged individualism, family structure, emphasis on the scientific method, history, Protestant work ethic, religion, status, power, and authority. Wow.
And
It-
remove
word
Protestantism.
America
Remove
or freedom.
Protestantism in that, and you could be describing half of the ages.
Future orientation and time. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Well, it's
That's what I'm
also
saying.
it's also weird that they
Hey guys,
describe.
the Yuckamuckamers cannot follow time or create any orientation for future
Yeah.
Well,
goals.
that's
Well,
legit.
it's also
That's not even one of the most offensive ones. Take a look at status, power, and authority. Only white people respect authority, according to the Smithsonian.
Well, if black crime rates are anything to go by, there's an element of truth in that.
yeah, your job is who you are, as opposed to people with their Twitter bios where all they say is "BAME," "she," "her," "yuckamuckama," whatever.
Well,
Like-
Trans, non-binary, super, the F flag person. Yes.
well, that's it. Because regardless of your opinion on the value inherent in work, at least you've got to be creating some value in any job. If someone's willing to pay you for something, you must be creating for them at least as much, if not more, value than you are receiving from them. And if you're creating value, that is a moral good. Work is a thick concept. You are creating value. It may be something pathetic like in a call center, but you're creating value for somebody and receiving monetary recompense for that. And if you don't have that value, well, all you are is your 3-letter acronyms.
You have
Well,
to
yeah, I
respect
mean-
people that work in a call
Right?
center. Their patience level is insane.
Well, yeah, like work is literally like a thick concept within Christianity, because one of the thickest concepts is that man is created in the image of God. God is the creator, he creates everything. So human beings made in his image are made to create things, to produce things. So
like that.
the participation in that is like something that has a lot of meaning to it. But it is inaccurate that, you know, our society treats your occupation as your identity or worth. Like, I can't speak for everyone, but I know that pretty much in any personal relationship I have or witness, like, it isn't on the basis of whatever the person's job is. Whatever the person's job is, you know, is interesting. It's an interesting facet of them, but obviously relationships are a lot more personal than that.
I will just put this one out by reading the site that they have just summarized, in my opinion, the ideal person. Optimism, time-based, work ethic, competition spirit. Essentially, and they just go around, oh, this is white supremacy. The poor yuckamuckamers cannot possibly become like this. And wow, that is really goddamn rude.
What I like is
anyone.
in the competition section, be number one, win at all costs, action orientation, winner-loser dichotomy, master and controlling nature. Okay, let's go have a chat to Usain Bolt and see what he thinks about being number one.
I'm pretty
I've
sure,
noticed-
according to these people, Usain Bolt is actually just black-faced.
Well, he's not black.
No, Biden got to the guy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
Biden
it's
sucked the blackness
I
out of
think
him.
that. Yeah. Well, I think when you use the terms white and black, I know I have fallen into this now after listening to Callum talk about it. That when I use the word white and the word black, I'm talking about the way that the left has defined them from the political terms, black and white, but nothing to do with anything to do with what someone looks like. They're purely political descriptors. Someone is black because of the way they have been defined by the left, and someone is white because of the way they have been defined by the left. That's the only thing they are. Because, you know, I'm of Irish heritage, and I found it very, very offensive. Like, one of the reasons why I left Twitter, for example, a few years ago, was after I was being told by a acquaintance I had on Twitter that I was looking at something through my white eyes. And I'm like, I'm Irish. We used to not even be counted amongst like the decent people in a lot of places. You can't, well, it annoys me. So yes. Oh,
Sorry, you're
have you guys lost
roboting
me?
just a bit, mate. We're trying to follow you.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay.
You are absolutely
I
right.
may-
Well,
Yeah.
Besek's being
I'll
polite.
summarize
when
if
he
you.
says- Well, Besek is being
be summarized.
polite when he says roboting just a bit. You know, he's being very polite, which is obviously a very white thing if you look at the very bottom of that graphic.
That's true.
Politeness is
We have
Very
just
white
given
supremacist.
out what we truly are. None of us have the privilege. Oh wait, we all have the privilege, but not the darker privilege of the more melanated individuals, the Biden voters.
I also notice, like, don't discuss personal life. Like, where is that a social rule that like anyone like abides by?
Like maybe
the-
Japan? Certainly no white country
Okay.
I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
What,
I
not to
mean,
discuss
we-
personal issues in an argument?
No,
Well, it's a
not
tactical-
to discuss your personal life in general. I mean, like,
Well, yeah, that's just good manners.
well, I mean, is that even a? Maybe we're misunderstanding what that statement means. But
Yeah,
like,
what do they mean by personal life? Like, it's one thing to talk about your partner, and it's another thing entirely to talk about what you do with said partner under the covers of darkness. But
Oh, is that okay? So they're
Hopefully
using
violate
personal
state law.
euphemistically. Yeah, no, I'm fine with the standard of it being generally impolite for a person to talk about what sex toys they use.
yes,
Seems
not
like,
information
Jezza has
I
to
need.
go.
Yep, Jezza
Seems like
is
Jezza
heading
to
off.
go.
He
He's
has to
9 hours
do
to have to get up.
work and things. Been lovely having you, Jezza.
Yeah.
We will catch you next time you're available.
Hopefully,
Catch
I
you
have
on
my
the
microphone working again.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
We catch you
Cheers,
on the
guys.
bounds, boy. Toodaloo.
No.
I like these people.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed this segment from the Sultans of Shadilay podcast.
If you like this segment, please click like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the full podcast in the description below.